Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Despite a disappointing ending to the 2022 season, the Utah Utes come in at number 14 in our way too early Gridiron Expert Top 25. Can the Utes go on to win their third straight Pac-12 title? Could they finally break through and make the college football playoff? That is what we're about to tell you today. So welcome back again to the Gridiron Expert. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, because here at the Gridiron Expert, football never dies. The season never ends here at the Gridiron Expert. We have college football content for you 24/7, 365. Every day of the year, we are talking college football with you, and we want you to become a part of our GE Nation. So like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. And again, become a part of our GE Nation. So you take a look at Utah, guys. Again, it was a pretty, all things considered, a disappointing season in 2022. The Utes entered the year with college football playoff aspirations and fell way short. The Utes went 10-4. They did win the Pac-12 again, which is great. They won the Pac-12 in 2021, which was awesome. Went on to the Rose Bowl, lost that. Win the Pac-12 title again this year, but then lost the Rose Bowl again. So, it's almost like the consolation prize with the Rose Bowl. If we're not going to go to the playoffs, at least win the Rose Bowl, and the Utes couldn't even do that, losing by 14 to Penn State, obviously in a game where Cam Rising was knocked out of the game with an injury that could maybe not see him being 100% by week 1. And we hope that he will be able to go. We assume that he will be, but it is something to monitor over the course of this offseason. But Cam Rising is back for another year in Salt Lake City. 7 starters back on offense, projected 8 starters back on defense. Always stingy defense under Kyle Whittingham. And that's what the Utes are going to have to ride, at least early on, to hopefully have some success in 2023. You take a look at Utah's schedule, guys. It is not easy by any means. It is a tough slate. And we'll get to what we believe the key stretch of the year is going to be. But you look at the beginning of the schedule. The month of September is exceptionally brutal. And there is a possibility that Utah could start the year at 0-2. Again, we're not predicting that today. We're going to predict Utah's schedule a little ways down the road. But you look, they opened the year up against Florida, a team they lost to by 3 last year. Granted, it was in the swamp. Granted, it was led by Anthony Richardson, who's no longer with the Gators. But they did lose to Florida last year. They get to host them in Salt Lake City, but not going to be an easy out. And then they go on the road to Baylor, who is going to be a tough team this year. I mean, they disappointed in 2022, but we expect Dave Aranda to have his team bouncing back. And the Bears in Waco are not an easy out either. So there is a possibility Utah could be 0-2 to start the year. And that's far from ideal, obviously. That would ruin any hope for a college football playoff berth, although neither loss would affect them in terms of the Pac-12 standings. So the Pac-12 title would still be there. If you're Utah, you're hoping you go 2-0 in those games, but the bare minimum, they need to go 1-1. They take on Weber State out of the FCS. Not an easy out either. One of the better FCS teams, but should be a win in theory. And then the conference slate. Jump right on into it, and they face some tough teams. Open up with UCLA, a team they lost to by 10 last year. Now, UCLA has a lot of key new pieces to replace from last year's squad that was contending for a Pac-12 title really up until the final weeks of the season. So this is a UCLA team that is going to be slightly rebuilding a little bit, but still expect to contend in 2023. The Utes luckily get to host them in Salt Lake City. It's a huge boost for them. And then they close out the month of September at Oregon State, a dangerous Oregon State team. One that has DJ Uiagalelei now coming in at quarterback. One that I expect to have a pretty solid defense. Secondary still work in progress, but the offense should do enough. At Oregon State and Corvallis, Utah beat the Beavers 42-16 last year, but completely different year now, completely different location now. Do not doubt Jonathan Smith and the Beavers, who I do believe could be a Pac-12 title contender this year. So the month of September is brutal. I mean, you look at that. If I'm Utah, I'm going to be thrilled if I can get out of there with a 4-1 record. And again, we're not predicting any games right now, but the road game at Baylor is tough. Oregon State is tough. I mean, Florida and UCLA, neither of those, despite having them at home, are going to be easy outs by any means. The only game that you could look at and feel comfortable predicting a win with would probably be the Weber State game in week 3. So 4-1 would be a steal for Utah. 5-0 would be phenomenal, but it's going to be a tough start to the year. They get their bye week and they take on California at home. If I'm Utah, I'm kind of wishing my bye week was before a tougher opponent. I don't think a lot of us have much faith in California this year. It is going to be at home, so many would expect that to be a win for the Utes. The key stretch for Utah is right after that. The 4-game stretch where they have to take on 3 of the top teams within the conference. If you asked anybody right now who the top 3 teams in the Pac-12 are going to be, or top 4 teams in the Pac-12 are going to be heading in to 2023, Utah would be one of them. The rest would be Oregon, Washington, USC, with UCLA probably right on the outside looking in. In a 4-week stretch, Utah has to face those other 3 teams. They have to face USC, they have to face Oregon, they have to face Washington, and 2 of those are on the road. So that is the way the schedule lined up for Utah was absolutely brutal, having to face all those teams in a 4-week span. So they go on the road to USC, a team they beat twice last year. They beat USC in Salt Lake City by 1 point, 43-42, and then crushed them in the Pac-12 championship game, 47-24. Now, USC does return their star quarterback in Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winner. They still have Lincoln Riley. For many, they're going to be the favorite in the Pac-12 this season. This could be a game that determines who makes the Pac-12 championship game. We could see them both square off again, but it's going to be huge, maybe possibly when it comes to those standings and also when it comes to the college football playoff race. Then they come back home to take on Oregon, a team they lost to by 3 last year on the road. Turnovers riddled Utah in that game. So they get to host the Ducks this year, but they return their star quarterback in Bo Nix. The quarterbacks in the Pac-12 are phenomenal this year. And we'll talk more on that down the road as we get closer to the season. But Bo Nix back at Oregon, Caleb Williams at USC, Michael Penix at Washington. Those are 3 of the quarterbacks that Utah's going to have to face in a 4-game stretch. Again, not ideal. So Oregon, a tough out once again. Then they take on Arizona State at home. So the road games are on the bookends of the 4-game stretch here. They get to host Arizona State, a team they beat 34-13, a team that, again, is kind of going through a new coaching change with Kenny Dillingham now coming in as the new head coach. A lot of changes across the board. Not really sure what to expect from the Sun Devils, but wouldn't put them as one of the top teams in the Pac-12 right now. And then they go to Washington, who they luckily did not have to play last year, but a Washington team that had the #1 passing attack in the country in 2022, returns that quarterback that was responsible for that in Michael Penix, a Washington team that won 11 games last year and very well could do the same again in 2023. And they have to go on the road. So on the road to USC, on the road to Washington, the home game against Oregon, absolutely brutal. Again, if you're Utah, you're going to be thrilled if you can win 2 of those games. That might be asking for much. 2-1 in those 3 games would be thrilling. 3-1 in that 4-game stretch would be phenomenal for Kyle Whittingham and the Utes. 2-2 though could be more likely, and those 2 wins could maybe come both at home and the 2 losses coming both on the road. So that 4-game stretch is going to define the season for Utah. It's going to show whether the Utes are legitimate, college football playoff contenders. They're going to maybe get back to the Pac-12 championship game, or if they're going to fall just short and a team like Washington, Oregon, USC, or whoever it may be is going to slip back into that conference title game. So that 4-game stretch will define Utah's season, assuming they escape the month of September with a 4-1 record or better. Again, tough schedule. They close out the year at Arizona. They beat the Wildcats by 25 last year, although Jed Fish is improving this program very quickly. And then close the year with Colorado, who they beat 63-21, a Colorado team now led by Deion Sanders. Not sure what to expect from the Buffaloes. We'll have their schedule preview coming out here relatively soon to talk all about the Buffaloes and what he might be able to do with all of his transfers coming in. But another great quarterback there, and Shedeur Sanders. Again, Pac-12 heavy with quarterbacks this year. It's going to be fun to watch. But Utah's schedule, guys, it's tough. Month of September is brutal, and that's not even the key stretch for us. The key stretch ranges from October 21st to November 11th, where they face 3 of the top teams in the conference in a 4-week span. What will Utah go in that 4-game stretch? What will Utah's overall record be? Can they win their 3rd straight conference title, or will they fall just short? Leave your comments down below. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, and become a part of our GE Nation, because here at the Gridiron Expert, the football season never ends. College football, 24/7, 365. This is the place for you, and we want you to become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.